This is the mindset of Eastern Europe. The truth is bitter. You know, Weitzman will have the same mindset. We must admit to ourselves that the ingathering of the exiles is unattainable by natural means. Oh no, we can't do it. We must have miracles, religious means, not by natural means, you see. To establish a Jewish state, maybe that will be possible. But the greater part of the people are going to remain scattered on foreign soil. Well, that's not true. That's not what happened. To gather the scattered ones from the four corners of the earth, like the prophets talk about, is impossible. So he's saying he represents the prophetical religion. He doesn't at all. Prophetical religion in Isaiah, in Jeremiah, in Ezekiel is all for the gathering from the four corners. To the east, I will say, give them up. To the west, I will say, hold not back, and so on and so. That my people come from the ends of the earth, etc., etc., etc. Ezekiel is the great prophet of this. So we've got to worry about the diaspora. We can't worry about the little Jewish state, the ingathering of the exiles. That can only be a small part of our people. See, he's defeated before he starts. No? So, I mean, if you think I misplaced my critique of him, you know, I don't know what to make of it. I'm just totally stunned by this kind of writing. Whether or not we create a Jewish state, the material situation of the Jews will always basically depend on the economic condition and the cultural level of the various nations among which we are dispersed. He doesn't see the Holocaust coming. He has no idea of the precarious situation of the Jewish people. He doesn't understand what's in the mind of the Western countries. He didn't look at the Dreyfus trial. He's living in a bubble. And history has shown that to be the case. Am I wrong? I mean, we can see it. Oh, it's very noble to be interested in spiritual things, and as my friend who left early feels and realizes, okay, fine, yes, there's nothing, no one's going to criticize you for being interested in cultural, spiritual things. But when you don't see the real spirit of the times, if you want to call it that, and don't see the tragedy awaiting, then you're actually deceiving yourself and your people in some way. Anyway, the spiritual problem appears in two different forms, one in the West, one in the East, which explains the fundamental difference between Western Zionism, and you probably didn't know we were going to get into this stuff in this literature, and Eastern Hippat Zionism. Nor doubt not only with the Western form of the problem, apparently knowing nothing about the Eastern, and the Congress as a whole concentrated on the first and paid little attention to the second. You see, you know, he says that it's the the Eastern situation that we have to deal with, and so on and so forth. He has already grown accustomed to 265 in the first paragraph at the top there. A broader social and political life on the intellectual side of work to be done for our Jewish national culture does not attract him because the culture has played no part in his earliest education. Basically, I think he's talking here about the westernized Jew he's talking about. In this dilemma, he turns to the land of his ancestors and imagines how good it would be if a Jewish state were established there. Then he could live a full and complete life within his own people. Well, what's wrong with that? Oh no, it's not Jewish enough for Mr. and Mr. Weitzman. These leaders, with these kind of leaders, you see again, Hitler is an insane, fanatical maniac, but with this kind of leadership, they're not going to survive the Hitler thing. Of course, not all the Jews will be able to take wing and go to their states, but the very existence of the Jewish state will also raise the prestige of those who remain in exile. So the state will help us all everywhere. That's true, that's happened. As he further contemplates this fascinating vision, it suddenly dawns on his inner conscience that even now, before the Jewish state is established, the mere idea of it gives him almost complete relief. So the Western Jew, the Herzl guy, oh, it's just the idea. And he did say that in his notebooks, you know, that the idea itself excited him. That's the basis of Western Zionism. And the secret of its attraction. He's jealous too. Ahad is jealous. Calls himself one of the people, a little bit pretentious, I would say. But Eastern Hippat Zion originated and developed in a different setting. It too began as a political movement, but being a result of material evils, it could not be content with activity consisting only of outbursts of feeling and fine phrases. It expressed itself in concrete activities, okay, that's fair enough. In the establishment of colonies in Palestine, the practical Zionism. This practical work soon clipped the wings of fancy and demonstrated conclusively that apartheid could not lessen the material woe of the Jews one iota. One might therefore have thought that when the fact became patent, the Hovevei Zion, it's the same root as Hibat Zion. Hovevei are the people who do Hibat Zion, the lovers of Zion. Hovevei means lovers of Zion. Would give up their effort and cease wasting time and energy on work which brought them no nearer their goal. But no, they remained true to the flag and went on working with the old enthusiasm that most of them did not understand, even in their own minds, why they did so. For at the very time when the material tragedy in the East was at its height, the heart of Eastern Jews was sensitive to another tragedy, a spiritual one. And when the Hovevei Zion began to work for the solution of the material problem, the national instinct of the people felt that in this work it would find the remedy for its spiritual trouble. The Eastern form of the spiritual problem is absolutely different from the Western. In the West, it's the problem of the Jews. In the East, it's the problem of Judaism. So here we go. The first weighs on the individual, the second on the nation. So his main interest is Judaism. One is a product of anti-Semitism and is dependent on anti-Semitism. The other is a natural product of the real link from a millennial culture. So he's interested in upgrading Judaism and so on. Judaism, next page, is therefore in a quandary. It can no longer tolerate the galut. Page 267, galut means exile, diaspora, galut, from which it had to take on in its obedience its will to live. For this purpose, Judaism can, further down, for the present, content itself with little. We don't have to ask, we don't need an independent state. There it is. We don't need a political science. We don't need an independent state. When the British get to the point 15 years later of offering us something, we don't need to demand to be a total, independent state. Only the creation in its native land of conditions favorable to its development. The Jewish settlement, which will be a gradual growth. Okay, that's fine, but he doesn't understand the world he's living in. Then from this center, the spirit of Judaism will radiate out. So we'll have a cultural center that will radiate out this great culture, which never has happened in Israel even now. There's no culture radiating out of Israel at all, even with 5 million people there. And certainly never was from the agricultural settlements. He's just living in a dream world, which is noble, it's a fine dream, but it's a totally unreal dream. Sounds good. Sounds good. Will confuse a lot of